2019. It is 7:08 p.m. I call this regular meeting of the Wellington Board of Education to order. We always start our meetings with present to speak. We encourage the public to come out and tell us their thoughts and ask us their questions. So if anyone in the audience would like to comment or ask any questions, you're welcome to at this point. Please start by giving your name and your address so that the person taking notes can capture that for the records.
I have no comments. I have 2 kids in this district, and I'm just, probably want to come to a few of these, a few more of these in the future. But name is Bill Surratt, and the address is 38 St. Mark's Circle.
Well, excellent. We're happy that you're here. Please come back whenever you'd like. Questions or not, as you prefer. And you save yours for the end. Okay. So then moving on to communications. Phil?
So it's not on communications, but this is this fine young lady's last evening. So she's moving on to other things, and so we'll have a new reporter coming in. But thanks.
Thank you for your good work.
For your work, we appreciate it. We received a resignation letter from Scarlett Pierce, who's a paraprofessional at Center School. She works in the preschool room, and she's in the WESS union. She's one that we hired from EastCon to then formally make her ours, and she's just had a tremendous impact in the preschool room, and she's going to be missed. She's leaving for good reason. She's finishing her own degree and going into the profession, and so to finish her coursework at Eastern, she has to take some courses that are not offered during, at different times. So we wish her well.
Okay. Board of Education Chairman's report is next, and I have nothing to report right now. We do have executive session at the end of the meeting tonight, and I do want to encourage you to look very closely at the different facilities options, because hopefully at the July meeting we will take one or more of those off the table to simplify our conversations with the public. So I'm encouraging you to think more about the different facilities options that we have on the table, both the ones that are there that you might want to take off the table, but anything else that you might want to raise or have questions about, we'll have time for that at the July meeting, I believe, for the agenda. So moving on to superintendent reports.
So community engagement events, we had our 3rd community engagement event on the 18th of May. Another small crowd. Each of these events that we've had has drawn small crowds. I've added in some other areas just to, if there was an event going on where there could be a group of people, I've kind of set up a table, crashed a couple things. So I was at Wellington Day, we had some foot traffic there, and thanks to the BOE members that stepped in there as I went to step into the dunk booth. I also had a table at Steam Night at Hall School, and I was right by the door, and I had a lot of people stop and ask questions and talk, interested to find out what was going on. Mrs. Stevens hosted and really there's a group of people did a kindness fair on Friday night at Hall School in the parking lot. It was extremely well attended. It's about kindness projects and summer reading and volunteer opportunities for our students. I set up a table there, and it was fantastic because people were asking questions, and then I just basically stood there, and they had dialogue about the options and what their thoughts were and asking questions. And it was actually kind of handy because John Frassinelli was there, and he actually works in the state and is very aware of the regionalization conversations that were going on. Someone asked a question, he chimed in, and he said that it just got shot down. It just was really a dead topic for his year, so that was nice for him to do that. I'm still waiting on a response from the Senior Center if they want a presentation of their facility. Human Services is presenting that to their executive board to see if they want me to come over. I'll gladly go anywhere. The other thing is I printed a blank calendar for June, July, and August, and you had asked me to do the dates for the library. I just think it's easier, instead of you writing your vacation days on here, if you could write dates that you would be willing, if it's 1 month, it doesn't mean you're going to end up doing it, but I'll just pass this around. And if you have an open date on your calendar that you could go and sit in the library, we could advertise it. I don't know how many you want to do, if you want to do 4 or 5. You may have 5 people show up, you may have 0, you may have 100. Whatever you put on, if I'm here, I will be there with you. And I'm here. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you want to put your dates on there, I'll do that.
So it's really to sit in the, kind of the reading room. When you go into the library on the left, there's that kind of informal reading area. For an hour or 2 at a time. We're not asking for like half a day or a full day or anything. So the library's open Tuesday and Thursday evenings and Saturday mornings. I'm not sure if that will be the same schedule over the summer. So if there's a time of day also that you would prefer, like morning, afternoon, evening. You know, for example, I work full-time, so I can only put in evenings.
Are you saying
or
Saturday's an option or not?
It may be, I'm not sure if it is in the summer.
But I think we could find a space. I think they would find a space for us.
Yeah.
Unless they have a major event going on, and once you put your dates on, I will confirm that with them out of my office. So even if you just draw a line and say, I'm available on any of these dates, however you want to do it, just so it's easier to cross.
Is that okay?
Perfect.
Yeah, that works.
The second item on the report is the facility study option survey that went out. And so to date, we have 111 surveys completed online. I have not gone out to check boxes that we put out. We placed surveys out in the schools, paper copies in the schools. They also went out in the digital not the digital backpack. It went out as a separate mailer. It went out on the town email system. There are surveys that went to the transfer station. They're upstairs. They're at basically every counter in the town office building. They're at the post office, the public library, the dojo. They're at, what's the hair place down there? Sorry.
Main event right there.
I don't get my hair done down there. There's only the pizza too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Whatever,
That one.
that place down there, sorry. I should know that. I know her name, Dawn. Can't come up with a name. And they're in multiple
Elegant Edge.
businesses. Elegant Edge, thank you. Elegant Edge, appreciate that. And so we put them out wherever we could. We put them in River and Rail, and so people can turn their surveys in. We're gonna leave it open till August 1st. Our first blast, we expected to get a lot because people did it right then and there. I will do another blast. We'll have the town do another blast, and hopefully we can get, I mean, it would be nice to see at least 300 responses. I'm happy that people are filling it out, and people are also writing comments. So, but there are, just by the data that's there currently, people have some pretty strong feelings on some of the options, and I think that'll be clear once we
And I'm sorry, I missed
start to
that,
share
how, I
that.
was doing that, but how many?
We have 111 responses online so far. I don't know what paper, we probably have 4 or 5 paper copies in my office. And then whatever, we have boxes, placement boxes out that people can return them to. So I'd love to see 300 surveys come back. I don't know.
And
That would be
did
the case
you put a deadline for it? I can't remember.
We put on an open until August 1st. It's really interesting, probably the first 20 surveys that came in, the data has just been pretty even keeled. So it's, you know, there's not a lot of sway at this point. People are answering pretty consistently. The neutral, if you were neutral on something, that will be where it'll be interesting to see which way people would sway. So
is it going home in the electronic backpacks?
Both principals put a blurb in their backpack last Friday,
Okay.
saying, please don't forget to fill out the survey. We're just trying to get it out any way we can. I'm
Okay.
trying also not to, just to be transparent, I'm trying not to inundate this survey to parents, because I don't want to be accused of, well, you sent it to only parents. So we're trying to get it out as many different avenues as possible and to promote it, and that's why I'm trying to come up with as many ways as we can to just get people to fill out the survey.
And I think that's true for all of us, that if we have social media or emails of people who live in town that you want to share it with,
Important to
I
do.
think it's important to get the word out. Similarly to anybody who's watching on video or listening on the recording, to please go to the website, because that's where you can find the link to the survey.
It may be something to consider too, if you want to do a day at the dump, the transfer station, sorry.
Outside instead of inside the library?
You know, just
Yeah,
to,
that's a
well,
good idea.
just for surveys, I think, you know, people will fill them out right then and there, and you have a lot of people that come through there. It's where some of the political parties set up from election time. You know, if you can get more feedback, it's probably not bad, so.
If they grab one there, and where did you say they could turn it in?
They can turn it into, they can mail it, they can turn it into the town office building, they can turn it into either of the schools.
Can they put it in a little box out front that's for taxes?
There's
Would it still get to
there's
you?
a special box upstairs for them.
In case the
um,
building's closed though.
I
Can't
can only
throw
do
it up
so
in the
many.
transom or under the, you
Well,
know?
if they do that, we'll get it.
Okay,
They know it, it's very clear what they are,
okay.
so.
Where is it at the transfer station?
They, you know, to be honest with you, I don't know. I gave them to Troy, and he said that they were gonna put them by the mailbox, that was by box tops. And I gave them, a stack of them, and they were gonna create a spot to put them. So honestly, I was gonna try and see tomorrow.
Is there a sign there or anything?
I don't know that answer yet, so I have to go check.
Otherwise, they.
Gotta go do a little reconnaissance tomorrow.
Yeah, it's hard, some of the businesses, and you know, the library is in the breezeway, and they said more people will go through the breezeway. You almost need that blow-up thing that, you know, flops around, points at it and says,
I didn't
Come
look.
to our
at the library.
you really do need something like that. It's hard. It's hard to get the word out there, so we're trying.
Okay.
So I did something a little bit different tonight because we didn't have anyone here coming to the meeting, and there's been a boatload of events at the schools. And so I just wanted to highlight some of the things that are on here. I put pictures up. So we had the trout release, which went extremely well. I think they released about 100 trout.
Yeah, just on
And seeing middle school students excited, they were down by the river, they were excited to let them go. Oh, there they are. We posted a bunch of videos on social media and pictures, and they were just watched 1,000 times over. It was just really powerful, so thanks to Katie for that. There's pictures from STEAM night that was at the middle school. We had, I already talked about the Kindness Project Fair. It was Friday. We've had multiple celebrations of learning in center school. Earth Day. Our choral and band groups had all their concerts, both at the elementary and the middle school. And I'll tell you, the band teacher did hers with the whole group, 4th grade included. It was really, hearing them all play together was really cool. We had groups perform, both musical groups performed the Memorial Day Parade, WIllington Day, and they competed at Eastern Regionals, where they received gold and platinum ratings. And then numerous field trips to the Southwick Zoo, Boston Science Museum, just a lot of field trips going on. 8th grade went to Holiday Hill. We've been to the Connecticut Science Center, Nature's Classroom. We had a Spanish field trip for the Emergent restaurant trip, Plymouth Plantation and Ecotarium. So I wanted to give you a sense of just a number of things going on this time of year. That was from the promotion ceremony this morning at Center School. It went extremely well. The new principal did a really good job. Parents were all excited. It rained, so we had to stay inside, but it's nice. We honored Patty and Linda, who were both retiring. That was the podium we got free from UConn. They painted it and put the kids' names on the front. That's the select course, I believe, performing in Memorial Day at the parade. That's them competing at the Eastern... Great East. Great East, thank you. That's the band performing at Great East. This is one of the celebrations of learning, so students showcasing their work in the evening. That's Earth Day. Cash has got a sweet big old worm there he's checking out. This is another Earth Day, so Earth Day is a big deal at Center School. And this was part of Earth Day too. I happened to stop over and I played Frisbee golf, and so these guys were playing, and so I was showing them. This is the instrument petting zoo. We had middle school students come over to meet with 3rd graders to learn about their instruments that they want to play. That's kindergarten ice cream night, and there's the trout release.
Oh, man.
So right down the liver, each group works about. It's that, those are made out of tape. Those are incredible. I might check to see if we can put those in the crosswalk. A couple of students that received castle awards. That was the egg drop off the Center School roof for 3rd grade, and that's the field trip for the Emergent Spanish restaurant. So, and that was field day, was it yesterday? Yeah, seems like it's just blessed. You got it yesterday.
My sunburn is still.
Is it today Tuesday? It was a beautiful day, so just, I wanted to share, pictures tell 1,000 words, and so many smiling faces, so many happy teachers, staff members, and families, just a lot of really good things going on. So I wanted to share that. It's just an easy way. We talk about building community and really trying to market our school district, and pictures are a great way to do it. So that's what I wanted to share there. The last thing I have on here regarding that was the promotion ceremony for Hall School is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. If anyone is attending, there's seats up front. No speeches necessary or anything, so you're welcome to come join us if you would like. There's some minor changes, as I'm sure you've heard about. There's a lot of really positive things going on. I'm excited to take pictures there again, get the banners. I've never seen a full all-school graduation, so I'm excited to see it tomorrow. And then the last thing that's on my report is the summer retreat is scheduled August 22nd. I put on their tentative time. Does 4 to 6 p.m. work for everybody? Is that okay? Would you like later? I know I saw comments not later than 7 o'clock, I think.
Did you hear from Elena either?
I think everybody, I did not hear about the time.
Okay.
So I'm going to be in the Adirondacks.
I think you're the only person that can't make it. That was the highest percentage.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
If you have any specific thoughts about goals you want to give us in writing ahead of
I
time,
might be able to call in.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
If you want, I could try.
From
to
your
do that.
Adirondacks. We'll see what kind of.
Yeah, see what kind of reception. we
Yeah,
have
right.
there. Yeah, it's on Saranac Lake, so they must have pretty
No,
good
they've got,
reception.
yeah.
It's not far from Young Life, so they probably
Yeah.
have pretty good reception.
Where's the location?
We can do it here, we can do it at the library, wherever, whatever's best for everyone. I don't have a problem with that.
Whatever you want. Might be nice to do it someplace else, since we're here all
The
day.
library, if you can get the time, the place, and that's what day of the week is
The
it?
public library?
Mhm.
And is that time, is that,
What day, that's Thursday, so they're open
Yeah.
tonight?
Yeah.
But you have to book the room.
Right.
yeah. I know we've done it in that room downstairs. It's a little tight in that room, if you have anybody show up.
We're okay in the room downstairs.
You okay with
Why
that?
would?
No. Yes, we
The
could-
big room or the little room?
The little room downstairs seats 12, so
Okay.
we can fit. So
What else?
it'll either be 4 to 6 or 5 to 7. So we have to double check with Elena since she's not here.
Doesn't,
But
doesn't matter.
hold the 4 to 7 time and we'll give you an hour back. How's that?
Perfect.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to number 6, the financial report.
All right, I hope you didn't get too excited when you saw this. Because
The
it
number
shows,
went up, woo!
it shows money, but it's not really there.
Okay.
So the report you have shows $29,000 left in our account. As of today, it's about $800. And so I wanted to share, first, I thought it was more important to show this number. Why is the $29,000 suddenly there? We moved a lot of encumbrances that were frozen, so money automatically gets encumbered at the beginning of the year, and then if it wasn't spent and it was frozen, it sat there. And we thought we would leave it there until, if we could take the budget freeze off. We did not. So now, that money has moved out of encumbrances and back into the balance remaining, is one reason the money came back. And the second reason is that we received our second check for excess costs for special education. It's not a lot, and I CC'd Michelle in an email that I had a question from the Board of Finance about a cap on this excess cost. We had an offset this year of $40,000 in the budget, and we received about $15,000. So that cap hurt us even more this year. Statutorily, we should be receiving 100% of excess cost money, which is anything over 4.5 times our per pupil cost. We should be getting back dollar for dollar. We never have, for whatever, the state doesn't pay that much. Prior years, we've been in the 70% range. We got about 22% this year.
So what's, What is the reason?
They put a cap on the amount that's coming back, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some lawsuits, because if you think about, ours is small compared to others. If you had $1 million that you were expecting to come back, and you got 20% of your $1 million, that's a lot of money. So we've been talking to Kevin Chambers, who's the person that handles all of this at the state, and he had an email to us in March that said he thought that it would be around 72%. So this was quite a change, and we thought it was a mistake, so we're still following through to say something's gotta be wrong.
Especially in a year when they put money away in the rainy day fund, you put away a substantial amount of money.
It would be nice to get some of that money back to cover some of the special education costs. We're on it, we'll see where it goes, but it's been very interesting. We do believe that we'll be okay without having to access the Medicaid money for that 1% account. And I will tell you, of that $29,000, the reason why I say it's not really there, some of the items that we didn't do this year, and I'll give you a couple examples. One, I said I wasn't going to have summer custodial help until July 1st. I'm going to have custodial help for the summer starting next Monday, because it's the right thing to do. We need the support. They also weren't going to have supply money to clean until July 1st. Well, if you're going to have people cleaning, you need the supplies. That's two. It sounds really ridiculous, but we ordered paper. We need paper. We need. She's smiling.
Yeah.
Look at that. She did not know I was going to say that, by the way. We ordered a pallet of paper for each school, and then we are ordering some of the readers and writers workshop manuals that teachers needed that were budgeted for this year. We did not order. And then the last thing is of course, I've been doing all this work with the speed radar sign, and our sign broke. Going northbound on 32, the flashing light that says school zone ahead is broken, so we are fixing that. So of all of the things I just listed leaves about $800. So, and we're comfortable with that. It's encumbered. It will not be, it'll be spent strategically to make sure I do not go under. I don't want you to just think I'm just spending it and try to leave my buffer of $800. We've encumbered it back so we know where we are, and we will make sure we only spend it once we know for sure. So, questions about this? The last thing on the budget summary. In the past, the board has voted to transfer money from programs, from one program to another, to zero out a program that's in the negative. I've asked Don about this. I asked Erica about it. Erica has to do that per her laws. I don't know if it's statutory or how she has to do it. Our number just has to be in the positive overall. I'm going to say I would request that we not transfer money out of other accounts to make, I'm just going to give you an example. The special ed account shows minus 4.8%. I would leave it at that, because I think it's when you transfer money at the end of the year and then you show that was flat, that's not a real number. It's not where you actually ended. And so as long as the total education number is above 0 or at 0, I would leave this alone.
Because what we're really adjusting is what our expectations were, because we know what we've approved, and making what we've approved match the reality after the fact. I think this is a more useful way for us to see where we were off. So every
Correct.
year to say, wow, special ed, we went over another 5%, 3 years in a row. So I think having this information is a more useful way of us tracking the budget, because it's accurate to what actually happened. And will help us to get more accurate with our budgeting over time.
You can see it in the approved
Yeah,
versus
learn
the adjusted, but I just, why make someone do the math? They're going to look at the percent remaining and say, you had 34% left in curriculum and staff development. That's not accurate. It's not accurate because we froze the budget, and we didn't spend money there because we had to cover other areas. So I wanna make sure that everything shows. If you show the negative someplace else, then
You know.
people will, I think, have a better picture. So if you're okay with that, I'd like to leave it alone.
And when you're building next year's budget, that will help.
You
To know
have the
that I need
picture, the
another
final
5%
picture.
in special ed and.
Correct, you'll have the final picture, so.
There will always be a year delay because we've already passed the budget for this next year. So how we ended this year will help us 6 months from now. Okay, so moving on to number 7, committee reports. The policy committee did not meet today because we celebrated Patty's retirement. We do have some old business under final reading of policies on here, and we will continue to work through the policies going forward, probably starting again, maybe one meeting over the summer and then starting again in September. So, other committees?
No.
Okay. Moving on to new business. We have in our packets the minutes for our May 4th, 2019 meeting. If,
That's
God bless you. You're allergic to minutes, maybe. If I could have a motion for the minutes of May 14th?
I move that we approve the minutes of the May 14th, 2019 meeting.
Thank you, Ann. Second?
A second?
Kiara, thank you. Any questions or edits to the minutes? There were quite a lot of pages there. Thank you for your hard work. We think you're going to have to train your replacement well to get the level of detail that you've gotten here, which is just right, without it being meaningless or too much. So it's not an easy thing to do. I would encourage you all, however, to read these in the packet ahead of time rather than reading them at the meeting. So to help train you all to move forward on that, I'm going to ask for a vote on the meeting minutes for May 14th. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Abstaining? Just Steph, okay. Ann was fixing her hair in my, that was an eye and a hair fix, got it. Only Steph abstains. The motion passes, so we've approved the minutes. Next on the agenda is the approval of the Willington Education Support Staff Contract, which is attachment number 2 in your, no, it's not number 2, it's not attached in the budget.
Did she write that?
No, I looked at the wrong line.
Okay.
Totally my mistake.
I think it was emailed
No,
or
yeah.
shared.
We don't have that, right?
We do not have
I
it.
think it was shared on your Google.
I do not see it, but
I didn't see it.
possible.
It wasn't shared in your Google accounts?
It could have been in the Google folder with a link.
I couldn't tell you that.
Okay.
I know that was on my notes. It was on my notes. It says done.
I don't remember seeing it, but it's possible. Did you guys
Can
see
you
it?
describe?
Oh, yeah,
the
definitely.
course?
No, I
Okay.
can tell you
Okay.
exactly what it is. So it's basically the same contract now that they have, and I'll explain what the changes are. And Elena and Ann were part of the negotiation team. I worked with Nicole, the union president, ahead of time on a lot of language issues that we both were questioning, what does this mean? We clarified a lot of issues, and then that was brought to negotiations. We weren't making changes without, that was brought to negotiations, and some were just signed off because everybody agreed it just made sense. Obviously, the big thing is always money and insurance, and they go hand in hand. The union already voted and approved the contract, and this settlement is in line with what other groups, have received for area contracts, as well as our Willington folks. One of the major items that we were able to negotiate was to sunset the sick day payout. And that is huge, because it's not budgeted, or you have to budget the following year. And so anybody that is in the group right now is grandfathered in if they retire. Anybody that is new coming in will not receive that benefit. So that was one thing. The increase was about it was 2.75%, which was including step movement and general wage increase. It's exactly what the teachers received, and that was in years 1 and 3 they had step movement and GWI, so it was total 2.75 each year. And then the second year, there was no step movement and it was just general wage increase. They had some insurance changes, including the increase for the employee share to 16%. They're currently at 15%, and that starts in year 2. And then we reduced the board contribution to the employees' HSA from 65% to 62.5%, and it stayed at 62.5% in years 1 and 2. And then in year 3, it's a 3-year contract, and went down to 60%. So there's some savings in there.
I'm
So
sorry, that is the,
what we provide towards the deductible. So if it's a family and it's, it was, 2,500, 5,000, what we're providing then is 60% of the deductible towards the HSA. When this started, it was 100%. And I
okay,
say,
so you said 62.5% year 1, and then,
it's at 65 currently, it goes to, for year 1 and year 2, it's 62.5. And then in year 3, it goes down to 60, and that's, most of our contracts are
so teachers are saying,
in that same ballpark.
I'm sorry, what's the yearly deductible for family? Is that 4,000?
Say it again. No, we're not 2.4, we're 2,500, 5,000. Which is, we are doing, what did you say?
That's high.
It is. We've negotiated pretty well on that, I would say. So when we compare in the area of insurance, we've done well. But I think it's, if you say it's high, the reason why I think that is we moved to the high deductible plan in HSA in advance of other people. I think WIllington was one of the first districts to do it and drew people in by providing 100% of that money. And other people are still moving into them. They're just starting. So.
Right, it's usually 50% that you contribute, so it averages up about the same.
Oh, you think the 62.5 is high?
Right, no, I was thinking the deductible is high, but then you provide 60%.
But then the percentage is lower,
It kind of
so
evens
Correct.
out.
It's not the 2.4, it's a 2,500.
That's what we saw with the previous negotiations with the
Right.
HSAs. Are there any questions or thoughts on the contract changes?
And I'm sorry, we
I'm sorry.
paid the HSA contribution once a year or twice a year?
Full amount now goes in September, and that's a change. We used to
So
do,
only one, you contribute the whole thing?
we used to do
once.
2, and what happened was someone would get a contribution in July and then leave, you don't get it back. So we have negotiated so that now, when the school year starts and that person's our employee and they've started, they get their contributions. It's the same thing with the teacher's contract as well.
So you get the full at
Right.
once?
Right.
There was also some talk about being flexible in terms of if someone needed the money during the summer,
Right.
that we would be flexible to provide the money then, if somebody needed it.
There was a hardship.
Yeah.
Request.
Do we have a figure of the total cost?
Per year, it's about 22,000. Is about, per year is about 22,000.
200,000.
But if you subtract the total savings for the insurance savings, it's hard to tell because it depends on who takes insurance, but it's about, the total is, if nothing changes, I need glasses for that one, sorry, is about $6,000. So that's over 3 years now. The 22 is 1 year, and the 6 is, yeah. In our pay, when we compared salaries across other unions, local unions, we're close. And they saw that.
Anne, is there anything you want to comment as part of our team?
No, I think they'll come in.
We spent the majority of our time on money and insurance. money
And
things.
it was their choice how they wanted to spread the money out, whether they wanted it on steps or whether they wanted it. So they made the decision how to spread the money, which I thought was good. So they knew what the best.
Yeah, across their union.
Yeah.
They've already ratified the contract.
They have, they passed it.
So, I mean, I appreciate your summary of the contract, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the new contract. I haven't read it, so I don't know the ins and outs, but
Yeah.
it
Does
just-
the board normally do that, or do you normally do? I thought we shared it, so I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. But,
I'm not sure that for all of the contracts, we've always shared the conversation.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to go back. I know that for the teachers one we did, but that was longer and had a lot more edits to it. I'm trying to remember.
This starts July 1.
I was gonna say, this was a few years back, so I could not give myself 100% on my memory there.
Yeah, I don't know. You-
Yeah. I'm perfectly comfortable moving ahead with a vote on the contract. So if I have a motion from the
Can you
floor.
check and see please?
Are we doing a double check on the computer?
I don't mind either way,
Okay.
but I'm just checking.
But if someone hasn't seen it, it doesn't matter either way. I mean,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to, I mean, you can wait, you'd have to have a
Yeah,
special
no, I
meeting
don't
to
mind,
come back
I
and
was
see
just
it.
checking to tell if it was here or not, I don't mind
Yeah.
voting it.
Yeah. Do I have a motion from the floor?
I move that we approve the Willington Educational Support Staff Contract.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Thank you, Tracy. Additional thoughts or questions? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve the contract for the Willington Education Support Staff signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. All those abstaining?
I'll abstain.
Okay, one abstention from Herb. Motion carries, thank you. Okay, one more contract. This one's for the phone system. It's the joint phone system for the schools in the town of Wellington.
Yes, so, this was what was in the CIP, and what was approved for CIP at $69,000 was the total cost. And it was a joint venture between the town office building and the schools.
Is
This is-
69 our portion or
No,
69 is the
total cost,
Okay.
total cost. And so this is to replace the phone system, which right now, if you're trying to dial into my number, you can't get into, if something's going on with our phone lines now.
Oh, thank you,
It's
that explains
antiquated.
a lot.
Oh, sorry, call my cell phone.
I got around it, that's okay.
Yep. And we can't get parts for the current system, if we get them, they're on eBay. And this was what was approved at referendum, so now we're moving forward to replace the system. It's gonna be, we have digital phones now, but it replaces them with digital phones. We actually have been working already to just look into this more, and it's actually gonna lower our monthly bill by a few $100s, because the way our old system is set up is we pay by lines for different groups, and it's actually more expensive than the system that we'll have in place. The new system will actually have a hub at Hall School because they have a generator, and so if our lines go down, we will not lose our phone lines. It's currently, it won't be at the school, so it'll go through Hall School and then come out. The system is movable. We're using all of the old wiring that's in place unless they discover something that's bad, which we don't anticipate yet because the phones are working, except for my line.
Parks and Recs doesn't work either.
It's this building,
Yeah,
It's something with this building, yes. So, and Frontier is looking at to see what it is here, but.
Is this hooked into the security system?
So this system provides a ton of updates for us. It's incredible what we are getting compared to what we have. Number one, voicemail sounds ridiculous, but we'll have voicemail that is with caller ID. We know who will call. We don't have that right now. We have voicemail, but no caller ID. You can actually send your voicemail, set it up so your voicemail goes to your email system. There's a whole slew of security items that go along with this, of how it's programmed, of being able to call 911 basically at the touch of a button. Things that I can buzz someone into a door at Hall School if there was an emergency and police were at the door and I need to let someone in. There's access to do that. We pay overtime sometimes right now for, having someone come in and, something's going on with, not being able to get in, their fob's not working. A custodian will have an app on their phone. I will have an app on my phone that will allow me to confirm that person has access and to let them in from my phone. So there's a lot of things that go along with it that are, between that and security cameras, will really improve security options at both schools. What else? Clarity, remote door access, it's a lot. We identified Connecticut Communications from the state bid list. They were one of the people that we received a quote from. They were the ones that were at 69 and everybody else was 100,000 or more. This group was on the state bid list, and so we used that bid. I met with Erica and our team with Connecticut Communications. They came in, they showed us phones, they walked us through the process, and we'd like to go forward with them at this time. This is not the only vote that's needed because of where the money is. You have to approve it, make the approval. Erica then needs to make the approval at her selectmen, and then it needs to go to town meeting, and it needs to be approved there. We're trying to do this town meeting on July 9th, so that way this will get done this summer, and the new phone system will be in for the start of next year to provide time for us to train.
Cost-wise, is the town paying more than we are or less?
No, each group, it's
Split 50-50.
It's not split 50-50, it's because it was a joint, and it's out of capital improvement. The cost for center is $21,155. The cost for hall is $30,447. And the cost of the town office building is $16,483. This is currently under the $69,000. The number that this is at right now is $68,085. What I would do is, when you do your motion, I would do your motion to state that it does not go over the number that was approved through CIP. So if this adjusts at all up or down, if they say, you know what, we missed a phone, we need to add a phone, there's a little wiggle room, but it will not go over the $69,000 amount. If that makes sense. Some of the items that are in this, in both, or all of the contracts, and they're basically all together, is that we don't have, if we have a meeting right now, we use the speakerphone. If you've ever used a speakerphone on an office phone for a meeting, whoever's not on the side of the phone cannot be heard. This actually comes with a little desktop thing that you can, each one has a mic. It sounds so fancy, but what's that?
Bring it to the retreat.
It's
Maybe we'll do it here just for that.
What was the capital figure again?
69,000 was
So we're not going over that.
what was approved, right? That was the number that was CIP approved.
Yeah.
And I tried to catch Erica before the end of the day today, and I missed her, of how to vote for you to pass this. And I think it just makes sense to do it as a package because we put it into CIP as a package. And it's joint, it's not one or the other. So I don't think it makes sense for you to approve hall and center and for her to approve town office building. It went in as a package, you approve it as a package, she will approve it as a package, and then it will be approved as a package for the town meeting. That would be my recommendation.
That makes sense, especially if we include the cap that we have through CIP.
Yep.
Do I have a motion on the floor?
I'll move to approve the phone system at the total price of $69,000 for the schools and the town, and that with a caveat that we not exceed the $69,000.
To Connecticut.
No second motion.
Okay, thank you, Steph. Thank you, Herb.
To who?
Connecticut Communications.
To Connecticut Communications.
Okay. Additional questions?
So Phil, you said that if we do move to a new building, it's transferable? We could bring the hardware
So
with
the
us?
only thing you'd have to do is, you'd have to rewire
Rewire.
anyways, but all of the phones, you know, if a phone breaks, he's got stock of those, but you basically just unplug the phone, bring it to the new place, and you can plug them in, so that was one thing we requested that. Some of the added costs for the first time we went around to rewire was just an astronomical number. So that's why this is, he said, the phone lines work, why are you changing that? And we went, good point.
No, because this is the installation, right?
It's,
We have
it's,
another cost, don't we, maintenance and a fee for the year or?
it's bit, so you pay your phone bills, yes, it's all in our budget, and it's actually gonna be lower,
Yeah.
between the town and the Board of Ed, it will be lower. But this is the installation and the phones is what it's
Right.
Right.
getting going. And he said unlimited training, he said if you have a question of how to do something, we will support, so.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no more questions, all those in favor of approving the contract for Connecticut Communications for the phone system for the schools in Town Hall for up to $69,000, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Right, so thank you all, motion passes. Okay, moving on to old business. We have the final reading of 3 different policies, which we were presented at previous board meetings. We'll start with the child abuse and neglect, child abuse or neglect reporting, policy number 4250. Again, this is the same version you saw previously. Any of the sections in red are new additions. If it's struck out, that's the old version. So you can see it's mostly adding of language rather than taking anything out.
And then the formerly was, this was in the student section and really should be moved to personnel, and that's why it's gonna be a 4,000 series policy and not a 5,000 series policy.
Phil, have the teachers and administrators reviewed it?
I did not share this because the majority of this is legal.
Okay, it's all legal, so, okay.
If they don't like it,
Okay,
unfortunately,
it is the law.
Right. There were a handful of changes of language that was provided by the lawyer that the policy committee adjusted to make understandable to the average person. So,
all of these policies, by the way,
are legal changes. That's part of the reason why we moved these up to the front of the list of the policy committee.
On that first paragraph, where it says the Board of Ed also recognizes legal and ethical obligations in reporting of suspected child abuse and neglect. That is a legal responsibility.
Yes,
Who do we report to?
the Department of Children and Families.
DCF or
Yes.
and the Board of, State Board of Education or?
There's different requirements at different times. If you read further down the report, the specifics are near the end, on the bottom of page 2 and at the bottom of page 1. The Board of Education, at the bottom of page 2. At the bottom of page 2 is the report to the Board of Education, Commissioner of Education, and then at the bottom of page 3 is more information about DCF.
the regs.
Yeah. So,
So
yeah,
there are
this is
several-
the
There
policy.
are several agencies that we have to report to.
Yeah.
We have to report to the Commissioner of Education and Families or his designee. How many agencies do we have to report to?
Primarily, it's one agency, it's DCF.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, by-
the primary agency.
That's the school, the staff, right?
Yeah.
But are you asking about the board? What are you, I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, I don't know
Oh,
who's
no. So the Board of
Who's reporting
Education
what?
doesn't need to report.
I'm sorry, what
Staff
do you?
report to the
DCF.
superintendent and so forth. But then from there on, where does it go? You know, for
The regulations,
notification?
the regulations spelled out, and every employee is a mandated reporter. They have to report it.
Yeah, they
Right.
report it.
So that's where they will call DCF. They'll also, it also says in the regs that they have to notify their administrator before a certain number of hours, and so it's built into the regs.
But the
When you
reporting
read
in
these
terms of
policies-
agencies,
When you're reading these policies through, though, there's usually several agencies.
in this case, there's only two. It's only DCF, and then the only cases where you have to report to the Department of Education is if the person doing the abuse is a staff or teacher. That's for certification purposes, so they can make their changes to their, you know, their internal, you know, they're not gonna recertify you as a teacher list, but the Child Protection Services, it's only DCF. That's the only, that when we talk about mandated
Well,
reporting, it's
here,
only DCF.
You have on the second paragraph, the Commissioner of Children and Family. Is that DCF?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So who takes care of that? Does the superintendent take care of that, or principals, or?
No, the
Staff member?
teachers, staff,
The staff person.
the staff that
Yeah.
witness the abuse.
Or who has the
Firsthand.
concern, first-hand knowledge and concern.
And then you notify your administrator,
So the staff writes the report to DCF,
and they call DCF.
and what does the principal do?
Make sure it happens. Sometimes the principal will be the one to report the situation. Sometimes it's the social worker, sometimes it's the guidance counselor. My job in the mix of things is to make sure that all the people in the
The
district have
principal
been trained.
investigates.
Well, the principal
Good.
reports to the
In other words, the teacher,
superintendent. says-
staff member reports. Okay, so they make out a report, send it in, goes to the principal or DCF.
Mhm.
DCF
But it has to be an
investigates.
investigation somewhere.
The DCF.
DCF investigates.
So if a teacher, you report, you call DCF, and usually you do it concurrently, you tell your principal, and your principal will say, make sure you call within so many hours, and you call, you know, we usually fill out a report so you're ready, and then you have a conversation, whoever, if it's you or the social worker, let's say it's a teacher, you have a conversation with DCF, which is lengthy, usually half an hour at least conversation, and then DCF will respond to let you know if they're gonna take the case or not. But you also have to follow up with a written report,
Correct.
and then the principal reports to the superintendent, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it says that there.
We know.
So if a staff member reports, it goes to DCF, they investigate,
They do.
and they find out that there is no child abuse and so forth. Is the teacher liable?
No.
Well, as long as they report, they're on safe ground.
Yes. As long as they report within the
Timeline.
timeline.
It has to be timely, within hours, right, within 8 hours.
Before the end of the day, it's specified.
But no later than 12 hours.
Right, no later than 12 hours, and then you have to follow up with a written report in
Within
48
72
hours.
48, yeah.
You know,
Other questions? So remember, this is our policy. In addition to the policy, the superintendent sets regulations that support this. That might go into the staff binders, so there's additional detail for the teachers to follow. This is the policy level, not every detail about every form and everything that they have to do down to the last dotting of the I and crossing of the T. That's for the regulations.
And there's mandated training by the teachers and all staff.
yeah.
Okay, I'll take a motion from the floor for this particular policy.
This is for approval, right?
Yep.
I move we approve the policy number 4250, dealing with personnel or child abuse.
Thank you, Herb. Got a second?
A second?
Thank you, Kiara. Additional comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving Personnel 4250 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Passes unanimously. Okay, next on our agenda is sexual discrimination and sexual abuse policy. Okay,
Harassment.
sorry, it's wrong on the agenda. It should be sexual harassment. Sorry, okay. I should read it off the top. Sexual discrimination and sexual harassment policy 5145.5A. So again, those sections in red are new. Those sections that are strike out are previously in there. The committee was concerned especially about the legal piece of this and about including the electronic communications piece, but we also wanted to clarify. You'll notice the number 4 that was struck out had some examples, but it seemed like it was not an exhaustive list, and by not including everything, then if it's not on the list, does that count? So instead, we aimed for the more general examples rather than the specific. So that was the thinking of the committee in putting this together. Thoughts and questions on this particular policy?
So we're sort of replacing it with the electronic abuse idea.
Right,
4.
it's still in, so there's still the section 3 above which describes it. 4 was only the examples. So we eliminated the examples because it was seemingly exhaustive but not truly exhaustive, right? And therefore we could run into trouble by things that are not exactly on there. But we did want to be more specific by adding in the electronic communications, especially because that was not an issue when the policy was last reviewed, as much as it is now, given how many kids have cell phones and iPads and other ways that they might connect with each other.
Once we approve this policy, if we approve it, my understanding is that the superintendent shall develop the administrative
Regulations that go with this.
regulations governing
That's
the
right.
implementation of the policy.
That's correct.
Does the superintendent usually wait until after the policy is adopted before he does it?
The regulations couldn't go into effect until the policy is adopted. So whether he's ahead of the game and has a draft ready or not.
I usually look at CABES too. I look to see what CABE has for regulations. You can see their regulations.
So they'll be in place when school starts in
Yes,
September.
yes.
You got your work cut out for you this year.
Yeah, most of the regulations are aligned with legal requirements too, so it's just a matter of making it your own, and if you see something that you don't like, just changing it.
And this one's not especially complicated, but that's true for all of the policies.
Right.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion from the floor.
Make a motion to approve the sexual discrimination, sexual harassment policies 5145.5A.
Thank you, Tracy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Steph. Additional comments or questions on this particular question? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the sexual discrimination and sexual harassment policy 5145.5 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Okay, 2 for 3. The last one is physical restraint and seclusion of students and use of exclusionary timeout, number 5144.1C. There was some discussion about this at the previous meeting when we went over this. So, and we explained a lot of, there was some new language in this. A lot of this is legal language that is put forward by changes in the state statutes. And since it was last reviewed, the case law that other schools have put in there. But if you look at the legal reference at the end, there's both regulations and legal reference that are new that made sense for us to make these changes now. So, questions or thoughts?
Just a quick
Yeah.
I think there's a typo on physical restraint, the second line, it says included but not limited to. It says on limited to.
Ah, yes. So there's a typo, under physical restraint, change the word on to not. Thank you. You sure you don't teach English, Bill? Good eye.
I do teach English.
That's
Fifth graders.
You have
I teach everything.
I forgot you had an inclusive, you have everything. You're not just a single topic. I was thinking you're sixth grade. Okay.
On exclusionary timeout,
Mhm.
that's not for discipline, is it? According to this policy.
Correct.
So this is used in case a student gets violent or,
It's a safety issue, not for punishment. Correct.
what other instances would you have to, because you're sending this youngster to a room or someplace, and I assume the policy says it has that supervision there. So, what reason would you have a timeout?
So-
You can't cope with
So
classwork or?
calming and de-escalation. So if a child becomes a danger to himself or other students, right? You need to calm down.
So it could be an emotional reaction to any stressful situation. It could be an argument with a
So it's not
student.
a discipline
No,
type
no,
thing, but
it's not.
No, it's
only if the
really to
student
calm them down.
can cope with.
No, it's not necessarily a room either. It could be a beanbag chair.
Could be the hallway if you
Yeah,
let
yeah.
It could just
somebody.
be a place that.
Sometimes you
is
just
their
need 5-10
spot to
minutes.
calm down.
Mm.
Is that open to the staff too?
We do try and set up positive
I
spaces
think I
throughout the
might need one in
building.
my office. I think you're giving me an idea. We'll have the beanbag chair.
It's usually food for staff.
Fair enough, fair enough. Other questions? Maybe?
Maybe later.
Well, as always, if you have questions about any of the policies, even after we've passed them, whether the policy committee's looking at them or not, you should understand the policies that are there. So if you have questions that come up, you should feel free to ask Phil specifics about what something means. So if there's something that's confusing, don't hesitate, even if it's not on our agenda. It's worthwhile for us to understand what the policies of the school are. So, yeah.
So the only time a teacher would use physical restraint would be if the student becomes violent or unruly
I think unruly,
and is a danger to
yeah,
other students.
yeah.
Self-awareness.
Yeah.
Or,
So,
and it could be trying to leave a space like the school. If you think about elementary schools,
you know,
if they're trying to run outside and going towards the road, you're going to bring that child back appropriately.
So
Yeah.
just to clarify the difference between exclusionary timeout and seclusion. Do we have seclusion?
Yes, seclusion is the room. It's on the second page, most of the way down.
So that's when you cannot leave.
We never leave a child alone unsupervised.
Right.
But in this
So that's
case,
the
you
seclusion.
cannot, the child may not leave.
Right.
There's a little typo within that,
Where is it?
in the red.
There's-
at the
Oh, there's an,
bottom.
the,
Missing,
Parenthesis.
there's a missing E for the, where the child is physically able to leave.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, missing
Which is
E.
line what, four?
and then
And
there's
also,
a,
it's not seclusion. The line above, in public schools, seclusion.
so there's an extra T and a missing E.
I'll prove it.
Okay.
That's stuff.
And then the parentheses.
Okay. And then the parentheses.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's no leads there.
Okay.
So-
okay. Assuming that the content is the same, however, I'll take a motion from the floor to approve the content with the typos corrected by Brenda.
I move we approve the policy 5144.1C.
Thank you, Herb. Thank you, Ann. other questions?
What's psychopharmacological agent? What is that?
What was your question?
It's a pharmaceutical.
That calms someone down? Or that-
Could, I mean, yeah, we're not allowed to recommend them, that's basically.
Okay.
We believe that your child will benefit from medication. That's basically what it says in very fancy, right? We're not supposed to say that.
Okay,
And we don't.
thanks for decoding it.
Yeah, not everything could be rewritten in straightforward language. Our lawyer does earn his money for some things. Okay, seeing no further questions, all those in favor of approving policy 5144.1C, students' physical restraint, seclusion of students, and use of exclusionary timeout, signify by saying aye. Aye. Abstentions? Nays? Passes unanimously. Okay, thank you. And thank you to the policy committee who spent all their time wordsmithing these. Okay, moving on to present to speak. At the end of every meeting, we love to have people who've sat through the meeting comment and tell us what they thought, or other comments or questions that came up during the meeting. So again, please give your name and address for the record. And
Mike Choi, Home Memorial School. I just want to say it's been a really great end of the year with all the activities that Superintendent Stevens has mentioned. There's been a lot of work by a lot of different teachers and professionals and parents and families and students to go into all these things at the end of the year. This end of the year has been really hectic because we didn't have snow days this year, so everything kind of got crammed together in the very end of the year. So a big thank you to everybody that's been able to attend all those great events. There's been really great things happening in both the schools, so I'm happy to see that as a teacher and as a community member.
thank you.
No, I just thought it was interesting. We have two math teachers sitting here in attendance. I don't know all of them.
You like the numbers, financial numbers?
Finance report was
Okay, we'll go with board comments. So Kiara, do you want to start? We'll go counterclockwise.
I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed the ice cream social for the kindergartens. I highly recommend it.
I'm good.
I actually talked to my principal and one of our kindergarten teachers to suggest that they do the same thing. It was so
It's
cool.
fantastic.
It was unbelievable. The kids were so excited, they took it so serious, taking the orders, bringing you the ice cream. They were really adorable.
Yeah.
So, and they were counting, they were telling how much it cost and taking the order. Would you like a cherry? Would you like chocolate or vanilla? It was just super, so. And then, sorry, I missed the concert, but I listened to all the music, the beautiful music that they performed at the regional East. So, congratulations to all of them. I'm looking forward to graduation. I should be able to go. And of course to Patty, congratulations to Patty on their retirement.
I just thank you to, I guess, everybody, because we've heard a lot, you know, the board, the teachers, the staff, everybody that's involved in our schools, because I think I've heard, it's all been positive this year. A lot of positive things with activities and going into the schools. There's a lot of community and celebration of each other's achievements. So I appreciate living in a community where it's all positive.
I'd like to thank all the teachers and the staff in the schools and the administrators and everybody who's worked so hard, and the parents. It's a really big partnership, so thank you to everybody for a great school year. And have a safe summer, and thank you to Patty.
I like the resolution on the, energy and reaction to the 8th grade ceremony. And I like that some people from the community came forward in, a good way and suggested some help. And I like the principal listening to the kids and tweaking his decision. I think that was good learning process for all concerned. So I just think that's a positive way to handle something that could have flared up much worse. I'm glad to be back.
Thank the superintendent for working through the budget this year. Glad we ended up with a balance of sales. Also, I appreciate the event, pictorial event tonight. And this is just a small sample of what's going on during the school year, and that's very much appreciated by everyone. And again, I'd like to thank the superintendent, the staff, custodians, and everyone else, maybe even the board, for all their efforts in making sure we get through what I think is a fairly successful year.
I would agree that thanks all around, and thanks also to the board members. I think it's important because what we do is unpaid service to the community, and it's the schools in Willington, I think, is part of what makes Willington a great place to live and a great place to raise kids. So, and thank you to all of the people who filled out the survey, and I encourage people to continue to do so. So if you would continue passing around the schedule, and that'll come back to me. We're going to move into executive session now. I'd like to have a motion from the floor for us to move into executive session for the superintendent's evaluation. We will not be inviting the superintendent for the first part of the conversation, but we can vote to invite him back in once we are in session. So, while normally we would invite him, in this case we wouldn't. So, we're going to banish you off to your office for this conversation. Yeah, we'll come back. Herb, would you like to make this motion? You're really good at these, including the right people.
Well,
Or not.
I move we move into executive session in order to review the superintendent's evaluation, and also that at some point we invite him into the executive session with us.
Okay, and if I'm correct, this one does not need a second, we just vote?
Just vote, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of moving into executive session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you both for coming.